You know, before Pokemon Arceus came out, I was kind of worried about the Pokemon franchise. I haven't been a fan since Generation 5 with Black and White. And I did play X and Y, but I really didn't like that game. I wasn't a huge fan of Sun and Moon. I didn't care for Alpha or Omega, Sapphire, Ruby. I don't remember what those were called. And I never really tried Sword and Shield or Diamond and Pearl, the remakes. And you know, with this game actually being really freaking great, and the new generation coming out later this year, apparently, I got a little nostalgic. So why don't we talk about the first generation of Pokemon?
I loved my Super Nintendo. Ever since I was a tiny little being, I played that thing to death, playing Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, and the unspeakable. I also loved the Pokemon anime, seeing it on the WB network and enjoying every minute of it. So on Christmas morning of 2001, 2002, I can't quite remember what happened, I got a translucent purple Game Boy Color along with Tetris Attack, Final Fantasy Legends 2, and Pokemon Red. My brother also got a blue Game Boy Color with Pokemon Yellow, which I actually played when he got bored of it. While I loved all these games as a kid, the Pokemon games were the games I had the most memories with. And it's not just the Game Boy games I have memories with either, as I was able to play every game connected to Generation 1. With a couple of exceptions. I never played Pokemon Pinball as a kid, and I never played Pokemon Puzzle League on the Nintendo 64. Though I did play the sequel on the Game Boy Color, which I will save for next time.
And I'm going to share plenty of those memories with you guys, as well as playing most of these games for the first time in quite a while. So let's start off with the beginning with Pokemon Yellow.
Okay, that's not the true start, but I only wanted to play the best version of the game for this video. Plus I wasn't expecting my copy of Pokemon Red to have a working save battery, so I was just going to play the game on my 3DS. Although I did play a bit of it after playing Yellow out of curiosity, and for a bit I thought it was actually intact. Though it wasn't without a few snags, and the battery did unfortunately die by the end of it, but well, let's start with Yellow anyway. Let's start with our name, of course, and also name our rival because his grandfather just forgot, I guess. I think his old age is getting to him. And we reenact Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But that's not the only thing we reenact, as we start the adventure playing our Super Nintendo, going into our PC to play some Minesweeper, and we go into the wild just for the hell of it. Man, I love my childhood, until the old man had to ruin the fun. He drags us out after nearly getting cuddled by a yellow rabbit, and tells us that we can have our own Pokemon companion before getting mauled by birds. Speaking of childhood though, Eevee does kind of look like one of the rabbits I used to own, which is actually pretty nostalgic. I wouldn't mind having it. Well, never mind, I guess we're not having him. Should have named the rival Daniel. But I guess we get something about equal in return. It's a piece of shit in return. This is the one big downgrade compared to Red and Blue. Instead of getting 3 pretty great starter Pokemon, you get a stupid rat that refuses to even evolve. Okay, I didn't care too much about this as a kid, but as an adult that realizes that Raichu is a superior mon in every aspect by far, it's just a kick in the teeth. Despite that, I do keep it for the entire game, not just because I like to keep my starters, or the fact that Pikachu is practically the series icon thanks to the anime. But I remember putting him in the PC as a kid and that noise was heart-shattering, and I don't want to experience that trauma again. But hey, it does follow you, and you can talk with it. Yeah, it makes this little rat worthwhile. So after giving Oak his parcel from Viridian City, as well as giving us our very own Pokédex, we can finally purchase Pokeballs and catch our very first Pokemon. I usually like to get a Mankey over here for Brock, but since Mankey and Primeape became some of my favorites since childhood, I never chose to put it in the PC. Certainly the best fighting type Pokemon, no contest. I also remember spending so much time hunting for a Pikachu in Red so I could get a Raichu ASAP, as well as a Weedle being a favorite for the beginning parts. Which, for some reason, is not in Pokemon Yellow. Is it because they were dicks in the anime? Maybe, but Butterfree isn't exactly my idea of a substitute. With that, we can take out Brock's Geodude and Onix with a flurry of kicks, grabbing our first badge in the process. And we also get a technical machine for winning, an item that allows you to teach a move to a specific Pokemon. It's just a shame that Bite is kind of a stupid move, so I made this move. You could even go to the museum and see Pokemon fossils and a replica of the Space Shuttle oh god. There's also a Moonstone, which is a sudden segue to Mount Moon, home to one of my favorite Pokemon. In later generations, Zubat doesn't really get to its full potential in this generation. But I also like Jigglypuff and Clefairy as well. Oh, you can also get a few things like Moonstones and vitamins like HP Up and a rare candy, great for level grinding unless you care about individual values and crap that only works in the competitive sense. This is also where you can choose a fossil from this creep and be further harassed by Team Rocket from the anime, only for the yellow version, and the pure reason why you can't get a Meowth, an Ekans, or a Coughing if you were ever interested. And with that we get to Cerulean and meet our oh so arrogant rival that thinks he can beat us with a rat and a bird, says the guy that has a Butterfree and a fish. Oh right, I got that Magikarp from the guy at Mount Moon, but I do not regret that at all. By the time we got the ability to get them, it was already a couple of levels from evolving. Past them, we were able to find another stray rocket that stupidly gave us a golden nugget before trying to convince us into joining. How the hell are they terrorizing the region? After that, we can meet the man behind your Pokemon PC, Bill, who somehow got themselves combined with another Pokemon. What a dipshit. Also makes you question why he's even handling your Pokemon to begin with. Oh crap, you combined yourself with the Clefairy I had, didn't you? But we helped him split the two apart and we got a cruise ticket for our troubles. But before then, you can also get a Charmander for free, all because this guy has shitty self-esteem. I sympathize. You can also get a Bulbasaur and Squirrel after getting the next two badges respectively. And speaking of badges, the bane of my childhood's existence, Misty. Not the character herself, she was arguably my first crush. But her freaking Starmie can kiss my ass. No thanks to that Bubble Bean and its disgusting speed. Damn this thing. But at least Butterfree had Poison Powder, and Magikarp helped a bit with its resistance. Told you I didn't regret that purchase. Well, at least she's not the type of person to use cheap tactics like rap. Yeah, I'm looking at you, you cheap brat. Is this what your mother would have wanted from you? Yeah, I thought so, you little prick. I also got to this daycare and gave the dude my Bulbasaur when I was deciding to actually use it. Didn't go through with it at the end, but he was a good choice for the next gym. But before then, we go to the big boat and get some training out, and I was able to evolve my lovely Draco. Doesn't he look like the most terrifying thing in the world? You know, while we're fighting these old men, I do want to detour to a spin-off from this generation, and one that I have faint memories with. Pokemon Stadium. This was a battling simulator on the Nintendo 64 that you could actually transfer your Pokemon from the Game Boy games using a transfer pack. If your save batteries work, that is. You can also use rental Pokemon as well if you don't have the option, but they aren't the best in terms of overall potential, though that may be a balancing measure. Doesn't change Pokemon like Raichu having Thunder Wave and Thunder, Gengar with Hypnosis and Dream Eater, and Nidoking having Earthquake. Honestly, the game isn't all that crazy if you don't have a transfer pack, or a friend to fight with for that matter. But that ain't the selling point for me. That would actually be the mini-games. Well, it's actually best if you have a friend with these as well, but that's not really the point. When I visited a cousin with this game, I played a lot of these games for a good while. I remember loving Magikarp Splash, Thundering Dynamo, and especially Sushi Go Round. This was a freaking blast, still is. Dig Dig Dig, Snore War, and Rock Harden are pretty okay, even if I'm awful at the latter. Hooperl and Run Rattata Run are pretty draining, and the worst one by far, Clefairy Says. I know my memory isn't perfect, but even as a kid who apparently had a sharp memory, this game was a pain in the butt. I did not hit that button twice, you stupid piece of plastic! This is why Pikachu dethroned you, you piece of shit. Yeah, as great as it is seeing Pokemon in 3D for the first time, it's kind of whatever. There's really not much here. It's all battling and the minigame stuff, and if you're not really into any of that, don't bother. Anyway, let's cut back to Pokemon Yellow. Eh? Well, it looks like Johnny didn't care for that either, and he didn't change his lineup, though it wasn't really too long since we fought, so that's not exactly surprising. But after that, we get HMO1 cut from the seasick captain by rubbing his back. Why doesn't that ever happen when I get an upset stomach? Hidden machines were always the why kind of mechanic. You do need them to progress through the game, and as such, you can't delete them. I personally like most of them. Cut isn't really all that special, but at least the later ones are good for battle. In just a quick moment, that sentence is going to be a misnomer. But right now, Lieutenant Surge is the next gym leader, and this puzzle sucks. It's still freaking annoying. I still don't know how this freaking works. But at least that's the only annoying thing, as he only has a Raichu in yellow. And as much as I love it, it's kind of a piece of cake. At least I get to teach Raichu Thunderbolt early. And speaking of light though, HMO5 Flash. What the f*** is this shit? This thing is only useful for the next dungeon, only lowers accuracy, which is practically pointless with my luck. And I got a Magnemite because I wasn't wasting it on anyone worthwhile. Also, this is the first time you meet Oak's aide, and honestly, he doesn't really give you anything great. You got the Flash HM, which is self-explanatory, and you also get the Experience and Item Finders. Sound cool? They are practically worthless. I even threw out my Experience Share because I wasn't getting any money out of it. You can also decide to trade a Clefairy with a Mr. Mime. I prefer keeping the Clefairy, but at least it's a better looking psychic type than... ugh, Drowsy. Never liked these things in the anime, and they still creep me out. More so Hypno, actually, but that's beside the point. Trading has always been the big thing for Pokemon. I was never able to trade with anyone considering I only had a Game Boy Color and everyone else was pretty much fixated on the Game Boy Advance, and also didn't care for Pokemon either. It's nice that you can actually trade with NPCs in the game, but honestly, they're not Pokemon that I really would get out of trading anyway. And there's only one evolution trade in the entire game, and it's with Machamp. I already have a Primeape, so... Anyway, Rock Tunnel! Yep, this still sucks. It's annoying without Flash, but it's still a slog and a half with it. It's also empty of items in this game specifically, so it's practically just padding. At least the end of it will be worthwhile, right? Okay, when I said the end, this wasn't exactly where I was headed. This is Lavender Town, also known as the biggest form of mood whiplash in a children's video game. Seriously, even as a kid, I kind of felt uncomfortable thanks to the music and the theme of death looming around. Even having a giant tower of dead Pokemon, Jesus Christ. Can't do much here though, so let's get to the next town, Celadon City. Since the closest town is closed thanks to the guards being thirsty, for God's sake. Oh well, Celadon is basically Kanto's largest city, with an entire mall, a totally legal casino, and a free Eevee you can quickly evolve thanks to the mall holding evolution items. I do recommend getting some lemonades in the Celadon store though, since they heal more than a super potion for cheaper. This is the most grinding I've ever done in the game, not even joking. Not really for the gym though. Erica is super easy with Grass and Poison being pretty easy to take out. She is cute though, I'm a sucker for the kimonos. But after that, we gamble! Apparently the gambling laws in Kanto are pretty lax for 10-year-olds, so don't mind if I do. Well, actually the good haul you can get here is a Porygon, and oh, no thank you. Screw it, why don't we take out some Rocket Goons instead? And since I like to steal things, I don't feel bad for stealing from them. Also, I learned as a kid the concept of lag thanks to this place. Maybe you don't need this many tiles, guys. I could feel the cartridge struggle. But we do meet the big bad of the hooligans, Giovanni, having an Italian guy running a mafia group in Japan. Interesting creative choice. After we beat his measly team of ground types, he drops the Steel Scope, which is excellent for traveling through the Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town. And oh boy, talk about the biggest slap of disappointment. Oh, I wasn't talking about this asswipe over here. I was talking about... The Gastly line was always my favorite since I was a kid. I absolutely love ghost types, their designs were fantastic, and the anime made them really fun. And they suck in Generation 1. Oh, that kind of rhymed. The Gastly family was supposed to be powerful against psychic types, especially for Sabrina, but not only are psychic types strong against them thanks to their poison typing, their ghost type attacks are straight up stupid, with the only damaging move being weak as shit and another being fixed damage, meaning jack and shit in terms of type matchups. And the biggest kick of the Pokeballs, psychic types are actually immune to Ghosts in Generation 1. I don't know why they did this, and I'm not even sure if this was a mistake or not, considering Stadium still has Ghost types being immune to Psychics. Plus the fact that the anime actually straight up said that Ghost types were supposed to be strong against Psychic. What is it? You can't, just pick one, pick one! Oh, and you also can't get a Gengar unless you know someone to trade with. Another time, my sweet prince. But you can also find a dead Marowak with a Steel Scope, and you can also see its orphan child that keeps the skull of their mother on its head in a house nearby. This series gets dark as f***, and I wouldn't ask for anything else. No, seriously, spend an hour or so reading some Pokemon entries, and you'll wonder how they keep selling these games to children. Oh well, but we do get the Pokeflute for our troubles. No need to worry about our Pokemon falling asleep ever again. Get a Pokemon with rest, and you can never have to worry about wasting too many potions again. Or lemonades in my current situation. There are a couple of other things you can do in Saffron City, like fight the Rockets again in the Silph Building. And once you defeat Giovanni, you'll be rewarded the Master Ball, the ball that can capture any Pokemon, great for Pokemon that have very high catch rates, as well as those elusive legendary Pokemon, which I never really used, so oh well. But you can also get a free Lapras. Don't bother with the Lapras. And right next to Sabrina's gym, you can actually fight this Dojo Master and get a free Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee, which I never really used because Primeape. Now you can go one of two ways. Either fight Sabrina in Saffron City, or take a detour to beat Koga in Fuchsia, who also has some killer sunglasses in red and blue. Yeah, no, fight the dude in sunglasses. Not only do you get his Toxic TM after fighting him, but you'll also have the access to Surf, so you can theoretically catch an Electrode in the power plant, learn it Toxic, and you essentially won the battle with Sabrina, being the only Pokemon that can outspeed her Alakazam. Although I also beat it with Snorlax without even using the Toxic TM. I remember this thing being a lot more annoying. Hell, I beat her Kadabra with my Farfetch, since I was able to boost its attack and speed while fighting Abra. That was actually kind of funny. And yes, I use a Farfetch. It's a freaking duck with a leak. Why do people hate this thing? You know, as annoying as it is that psychics are practically overpowered, I really overestimated how bad the Abra Line's defenses were. Also, for someone who hates fighting so much, what's with the whip? You disgusting bitch. Oh, speaking of bitch though, the Safari Zone is certainly one. Even as a kid, I never really cared for this place. You could only use their specialty balls, as well as a few rocks and bait to various degrees of effect. Ugh. There are plenty of Pokemon I really like in this place. Scyther and Pinsir have always been my favorite bug types. Shame they kinda suck in Generation 1, like pretty much everyone else. And you can also get a Kangaskhan and Tauros, which are great, but I already have my preferred normal type, so... And you could also fish for a Dratini. Shame they're so low level that it's not even worth raising. Why is Generation 1 worse than I remember? Okay, this is getting exhausting, so let's make another quick detour. You know, maybe my lax opinion towards dentists may have something to do with the fact that every dentist I met had a Nintendo 64. Every single one of them had Smash Brothers, which was always a good time, but one of them had Pokemon Snap. It is, by all intents and purposes, a charming photography simulator. You take and control a Todd Snap, and Professor Oak asks him to take photos of Pokemon in this random island. Where is this island? I'm gonna take a wild guess and say the Orange Islands? I don't know, I don't care. Now the catch is, you can't just stop and take pictures of a random Pikachu. You're on rails the entire time, making the idea of getting the best picture kinda tricky, albeit very satisfying once you get just perfect. Though sometimes Oak will not be amused. After each trip, you will show him up to one Pokemon you snapped up. Sometimes he won't be impressed, but a lot of the time he'll be pretty content. And he'll also give extra points for multiple of the same Pokemon, or if the Pokemon is in the center of the photo. Does make sense, but he may also give extra for the Pokemon doing something cool, like standing on a stump. Riveting. And sometimes, I'll just tell him he's an idiot and overwrite what is objectively a worse picture he believes is better. The crazy old Not all 151 Pokemon are in the game, only about 60 are present. And some of them even act as interesting little puzzles. My favorites have to be Gyarados and Slowbro. Gyarados only appears if you hit this Magikarp with a Pester Ball and this Mankey just yeets it to the later part of the road. And with Slowbro, you have to guide a Slowpoke to a Shelter sign so it can evolve with the Shelter on its tail. Just one of the cool little details that makes you really feel like you're in the world of Pokemon. I will say though, some of the Pokemon are a little incidental. Like in order to get Starmie, you have to take a picture of Staryu right in the middle of the photo, or how you need to chuck an apple at the ground in order to successfully capture a Pokemon photo. How does going Chrome make Magnemite not count, but Porygon being covered in gunk does? One other thing to note is the Pokemon signs. First off, screw this Mankey screwing me over. You were this close, you damn 38! Anyway, you find Oak in this remote area trying to find a Dugtrio mountain. Dude, you really can't miss it. Actually, how the hell did you get here and not go over to the spawn point where the mountain is right in plain sight? You really are an old coot, aren't you? The mountain aside though, these signs are really fun to find. Some of them are a bit cryptic, but with the levels being small, trial and error isn't really an issue with them. And your reward for getting all 6 of them is finding the elusive Mew, the mystical ancestor of all Pokemon. And also kind of a bitch. Mew was also the only Pokemon to not be in the original game, no matter what truck rumors say. The only way to get it in your copy of Red, Blue, and Yellow was at Nintendo's Space World event in 1999, and even then there were very limited quantities of them. However, you do get it through some nifty little tricks. But let's get back to the main game. Ah, damn it, the save battery finally died. At least I won't have to worry about the gaudy Super Game Boy border. That was actually burning my eyes. And considering the next place to visit is the Pokemon Mansion, that may have been a good sign. So we head over to Cinnabar Island for our next gym battle, and the gym door is locked.
Well, that's the end of our journey, so thank you for watching.
Oh god, I wish. This is just a detour to the next dungeon. This may be the worst dungeon in the game. It's confusing to navigate, and it's an eyesore on the Super Game Boy or even on a 3DS. Seriously, red and white checkerboards on a bright screen? I guess it wasn't a big deal on a Game Boy, color or otherwise. But they seriously didn't play this on a Super Game Boy and think, yeah, maybe not the best idea. I guess this is a perfect place for world building, as we find out the existence of Mewtwo, a genetic clone of Mew, or some kind of offspring? Thanks game, I didn't need the mental image of this thing giving birth. That's the key theme of the game. No, not the fetus birth. Well, kind of. I mean the theme of genetics and mutation. You find the fossils of Kabuto, Ammonite, and later in the game Aerodactyl, and you actually have the ability to resurrect them in Cinnabar. When you find Bill, he's fused with another Pokemon. Lavender Town is home to reanimated spirits, and you find toxins around the region like Mutt and Coughings. Some of the Pokemon even grow heads like Dugtrio and Dodrio. And lastly, you find an Eevee, which is pretty much the mascot of the entire theme, being the only Pokemon to evolve into multiple types, thanks to its unstable DNA. Actually, thinking about it, evolution in general kind of fits into this theme as well. I know that the eastern part of the world has always had this fascination with genetics, and especially as of recent genetic editing, so I guess the cultural impact bled into the overall product. Or maybe I'm just overthinking it, but I mean, the fact that some of the most popular Pokemon are connected to genetics in some degree, I feel like it isn't a coincidence. It's funny in retrospect, I never found this game in particular to have a strong story, and really, it doesn't. You're still beating every gym leader, fighting up Team Rocket on occasion, and beating the Elite Four to become the Pokemon champion. But just because a game isn't story-driven doesn't necessarily mean the game doesn't have great lore around it. One of the reasons why I love Metroid so much. Stories are never complicated, but the lore is what picks up the slack, and I feel Pokemon does it in a similar manner. And maybe that's why I still have fond memories of the game, you know? Because, let's face it, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow haven't really aged well at all. There's an entire list of things wrong with the game, from balancing all the way to the weird shit like this. Yes, Shelder, keep using that water-type move that does absolutely no damage to my Sandshrew. Idiot. But it's all the things surrounding those strings and paper clips that allow it to resonate with so many people. Let's finish this up, though. We beat up Blaine in his stupid little quizzes, Caterpie evolves into Metapod, you dipshit, and we finally meet the last gym leader. It's him. Honestly, I don't know how these people didn't know that the final gym was run by an asshole that runs the equivalent of the Yakuza. But none of that matters because I have Toxic and Rap on my side, bitch. Yeah, now I'm the archaic asshole. Ah, shoot, now I'm the archaic asshole. And apparently this is the battle that makes him end Team Rocket. A freaking 10-year-old ended the Japanese Mafia, only in an RPG. Now that we have the ability to challenge the Elite Four, oh, f off. Okay, I guess one more battle with this asshole before we go into Victory Road. Hey dipshit, the Pokemon Center is to the right. And don't say you use Revise. If I can't use items when I lose, he can't either. Hope the Golbats suck your blood dry. But anyway, we enter the Indigo Plateau and... oh, come on. Okay, Chuck, we got some pushing to do. Victory Road was never the worst dungeon in the game. Not exactly my favorite either. It's just dull and tedious. But after all that, we start off the Elite Four with the Ice-type user... Lorelei. If Misty was my crush as a kid, Lorelei was certainly a crush as a teen. A redhead that also sports glasses and a ponytail? Sounds perfect in my book. Plus she's also really cool, no pun intended. Especially in the Red and Green remakes when she actually involves herself in the plot. Following that up is Bruno, who is supposed to be a fighting type user, yet he has 2 Onyx. You realize there are enough fighting types to fill a full team, right? Oh well, next is Agatha, who apparently knows Oak personally. I suppose she shares my opinion on him being an old nut. And respect on the ghost-type preference, even if it feels like more of a poison-type preference. Though I'll give you slack since there's not a lot of ghosts. Though a Marowak would have been meta as shit. And ending it all with Lance, the dragon trainer. At least we have Pokemon that look like dragon. Why do you have 3 of the same family, Lance? And why are your Dragonair not evolved, you cocky son of a bitch? Holy shit, Crueler is faster than a Dragonite. You're f***ed, Lance. Wait, it's not over? Then who? Oh, god damn it! I guess he survived the Golbat after all. Certainly has the overconfidence of someone who survived Victory Road empty-handed. At least the team hasn't changed, aside from a couple of extra levels. Asshole probably had a bag of rare candies, the cheap prick. And look at that, you were such a shitty shit that your grandfather is here to praise me and my Pokemon over you. Maybe he didn't know your name because he couldn't be asked to care for such a disappointment. Okay, that was a bit much. Still remember that time that I beat your Jolteon with a Farfetch'd? That was frickin' hilarious.
And that was Pokemon Generation 1, and man, these games are a mess. I have all the nostalgia in the world for these games, but I'm not gonna lie and say these are masterpieces. They really haven't aged all that well, and really, they're just bound by string and glue and Clefairy dust, I guess. But don't think we're done just yet. We still got one tiny little game to go over.
I'm actually curious about how many people remember this thing existed. I guess the trading card game was pretty popular, just as much of a phenomenon as the rest of the media franchise. So I guess they decided to make a game adaptation on the Game Boy Color just to get more cash out of people? Though then again, that may be the Pokemon Company at their bullshit starting early. Actually, you could argue that the game's being split into 2 is the start of that greed train, but I'll bitch about that another day. So let's explain what the Pokemon card game is. So you need to create a deck of exactly 60 cards with no more than 4 of the same card, outside of energy cards, which you'll need for attacks. Once you get a deck, you put down a few prize cards and draw 7 cards into your hand. You'll need at least a basic stage Pokemon in your hand to start, and if you don't, you'll need to reshuffle until you have one. You'll flip a coin to determine who goes first, and once it's your turn, you'll draw an extra card, put an energy card on a Pokemon, use any trainer or item cards to increase your chances of winning, evolve Pokemon if you had the right evolution card, use Pokemon abilities if the Pokemon has one to begin with, and use an attack if you have the right amount of energy cards attached to your Pokemon. You'll also have to look into the opponent's weakness and resistance, which they usually have one of each, and every damaging attack is locked to the Pokemon's type, in which there are only 7 in the beginning. Grass, fire, water, electric, fighting, psychic, and colorless. Yeah, it's called colorless. Any attack that requires a colorless just means that you can use any kind of energy in the game, though the only colorless energy in the game is a double energy. At least it used to be. Did they change that? It has been a while. And once you take out all the opponent's Pokemon, take all your prize cards, or wipe out the opponent's deck, you win the game. Does that sound fun to you? Awesome! Go find a couple of starter decks at Target. You are not getting any sort of enjoyment here. I've never got close to the end as a kid, and yeah, I still have my copy unlike Pokemon Yellow, in which I threw out because the save battery didn't work, if only I knew. Honestly, I just had enough energy to play one session, and that's just the tutorial and a couple of the gyms. And unlike the RPG games, you're not going on a grand adventure, you're just looking at the map and clicking on what gym you want to go to. It's kind of cool that the journey is non-linear, but really they're all the same. They feel the same. You challenge everyone plus the leader, and you occasionally find a rival you just find out of nowhere. He claims to know you, but you meet the dickhead in the first place with no fanfare whatsoever. And honestly, a rival just seems silly for this game. He just wants to be the greatest card player in the world, which compared to an actual Pokemon master, just seems absolutely mundane in comparison. In the RPGs, you face off against a smug asshole with devastating creatures like a raging dragon and a telekinetic sorcerer. But here, this game is all like, yeah, screw you, Jayson, I'm gonna be king of the cardboard! You can't take it nearly as seriously. And it's also a reason why there's no Team Rocket substitute either, I'm guessing. But could you imagine how that worked out?
Hello, Jayson. I have been waiting for you. I have made much progress in becoming the strongest of all of Kanto, and now I will destroy you once and for all. Release your deck of cards.
And if all that wasn't bad enough, the game is so slow. It's slow. Waiting for a transition, flipping a coin multiple times for a multi-hit attack, or to get rid of a sleep condition. Ugh. Wasting a turn if you have a condition like paralysis. Using cards that make you look through a deck and watching that shuffle animation. And the animations. Oh my god, these animations waste so much time. I guess it's a way to make the game feel more energetic, since all you're really doing is looking at this extremely bit crunch rendition of the real cards, but it's just such a boring game to look at. And no, it's not the hardware. Again, the RPGs did way more than this. Also helped that there was way more variety in the RPGs, because they were RPGs. I don't think a card simulator is prime for an adventure of any kind, I'm sorry. Again, if you want to play the game, just get a couple of decks from the store and play with friends. And maybe play some music from the game, like holy shit, this actually kind of slaps. Or be like me and just collect the cards for collector's sake. Man, I remember getting my first booster pack on my 10th birthday. My best friend at the time probably regretted that, because I brung those things everywhere. Sad that I only had half of them now. Lost the Gastly, Kecleon, Tentacool, and Kabuto. Or maybe they're hiding in the void. I'll look into that later.
Well, that was certainly an interesting reminisce. Not really surprised that most of these games have aged rather poorly. The only game I can vaguely recommend nowadays is Snap, but you're already playing the new one on your Switch, most likely, so the only reason why I'd ever really recommend going back to it is just vague curiosity, I guess. But despite being really big into the games, the anime, as well as the trading card game, I can't say I was religiously following it for a while. In fact, I wasn't able to get back into the franchise until Black and White, when I was able to emulate it on my very, very bad PC, but that's a story for another time. Anyway, I'm going to go back to Arceus. This game is absolutely a blast. If you haven't played it, I would highly recommend it. This is also the only game where I can get a Gengar without trading with someone, so this game gets props alone for that. We're not going to be able to do that in Violet and Scarlet, are we?